you're doing well on this very new day, new year. Happy New Year, everyone. I am super excited to be here with you today. And this broadcast, I'm really hoping uh, hits very well. So, as I finalize the setup on my end, I am going to go ahead and hit the record button because this is actually something that I've forgotten to do a number of times. And it's actually really important because it's great for people to listen to the playback. And so I'm wishing you all the happiest of New Year. I hope the year started correctly for you. Drop it in the comments section and let us know if you had a great new year. Hopefully, you spent it among family and friends. So, I want to welcome you all to today's broadcast. And before I really get into it, because coming into a new year, you begin to think about all of the things that you've gone through in the previous year. And so I wanted to utilize this space to actually take some time to be a bit more reflective and also to do some forecasts as to what is important for Black Travelers Network and what we're looking forward to for the 2024 calendar year. And so I think the best way to start this off is to once again thank everyone. Thank you all so much. We reached over 1,000 subscribers several days before the new year. And so it was really a great way for all of us to bring in the new year because, this is all about furthering the travel message and traveling, not just domestically, but also internationally when it comes to the worldwide Black community. And so I want to talk quickly about Black Travelers Network, our journey here on YouTube. And it is, trust me, it has been a journey in general, but especially here on YouTube. And it's so crazy to me because with YouTube wasn't even supposed to be a journey. That's the funny thing about the entire situation. I'm highlighting the YouTube journey that wasn't even a journey, like it wasn't supposed to be. And it didn't start out with us trying to reach any particular number of subscribers here on YouTube. If that was the goal, the content, I believe, certainly would have likely been very different. It started out with just a strong need and desire for me as the lead of Black Travelers Network to connect with the members of the Black Travelers Network community. So reaching 1,000 subscribers has totally exceeded my expectations because it was never about that. It was simply about growing the Black Travelers Network community outside of the online space and platforms, and really connecting with those people who wanted to travel and be members of our travel community. And YouTube only came about because I felt like it was an important tool to connect people with the trips that we had coming up. So definitely a great way of communicating about our trips. And when I say people, I mean specifically the people in our community. What a lot of people don't know is that, if you look at the amount of videos we've put up about 200 and something, close to 300 videos that are public, but we have so many videos that are private, that are just for our community, our Black Travelers Network community. These are videos that have been uploaded over time and no one ever gets to see, because they were really designed as a way of just communicating with our travelers and the people who wanted to meet up with us locally. It was also, YouTube has also been a great tool for us to make announcements to our travelers about, not just the upcoming trips, but just basic information. You know, you must remember, when Black Travelers Network started, we started as a blog. It was not a travel platform for people to get together and travel the world. It simply started as a blog that was designed to give tips on how to travel and where to travel to. And as time went on, it became more apparent that people wanted to take our online information and meet up locally, and travel together from the meetups that we had. And so we had meetups in Los Angeles, we had meetups in Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia. Like we had a number of different meetups locally before we ever even uploaded a single video on the YouTube platform. And so because of that, the YouTube channel also was an avenue to carry some of those messages that were disseminated through the original blog to our travel community online. So the first place we actually traveled to was the country of Brazil. And the thing about traveling to Brazil is Brazil was a place that I didn't even want to go to. When I thought about Brazil, I actually thought about waiting until I got a little bit older. I was like, oh, I don't want to travel to Brazil, and I'm so young. I actually wanted to travel to Brazil like when I got in my late 40s, early 50s, or 40s and 50s was a Brazil trip for me. It was not any time before then. That's the funny part. My first place that I wanted our travelers to go to was actually South Africa. That was one visit to South Africa changed the whole idea of travel for me. That was my actual goal, was bringing people together so we could all travel to South Africa, because I was wildly impressed with the country. It went so far beyond what I ever saw or thought about the country. So that was the goal of Black Travelers Network, and taking the community that was online offline. It's like, let's go to South Africa. That was the first destination, and I'm going to come back to that point. But the point of creating the Black Travelers Network community in general was because as a corporate traveler, because at that time I was a corporate traveler, I traveled all over the United States, lived in multiple cities for over a decade. I would see very few Black people traveling. I was literally in the airport every other weekend for, like the better part of a decade, a little bit more than a decade. And because I was in and out of the airports so much, I would see Monday through Sunday the demographic of travelers who actually were catching flights, and none of them, I'm not going to say none of them, very few, very, very few of them looked like me. And so I started to think like, there may be something there, where there's a reason why most of the people who are black are not traveling like that. It just blew my mind. And then in living in these different cities, I would always meet other black people who talked so openly about wanting to travel internationally and how the last trip they may have taken was somewhere in the United States, which I'm a big fan of travel whether it's domestic or international. I just prefer the international travel because I think it's more cost effective and it gives you the most when it comes to cultural immersion and experiencing other cultures and just learning in general. But I wanted to create a community that kind of called us out as black people and say, hey, you are welcome to come over here and join our group as we travel around the world. That was the whole point of taking Black Travelers Network from being strictly online to offline, like really being a resource for people who wanted to go to different places, but maybe for one reason or another, they didn't have the community of family or friends who would actually take the time and go with them to these places. And so as a result of that, this is like what really was my strong motivation to pull the community together. So unlike what some, and I'm just going to call them out, small-minded people have thought over the course of the years, it was not a way of dissing other groups of people or saying you can't travel with us. I can't tell you, I've heard so many black people say that because I called the community Black Travelers Network, because I called it Black Travelers Network, somehow I was being racist. I've also heard the same thing from non-black people, which is the funniest thing because it's like so far from the truth. I don't acknowledge it because it's hilarious to me, and it's not a reflection of the intent of the community. The community really was designed to be a space for black people to network among each other, a way of networking with other groups and other communities that do not look like us. When you travel the world, you're not really traveling to places where you are only able to see people who look like you. I mean, or you're only able to get from America to these other places just solely through working with black people. That is not a possibility that I see here. So it was a way of communicating with other groups of people that, yes, this is a platform that's largely focused on black travelers, but we're open to networking, and we're also open to visiting places around the world to experience it. It was also a way of using travel to further our education as adults about worldwide black history that will never be taught. I'm telling you, these are things that will never be taught in any school system in America. And there are so many things you can't even find in books that you learn just from traveling the world. And so for me, it was incredibly important to have a focus be on international travel. This community was truly designed to celebrate, educate, and bring black people together. But it's not a diss or a dig towards any non-black people. And the people who are not black, who I've met over and throughout the years, who understand what our focus and our goal is, not only do they get it and not only are they supportive, but I've had a number of non-black people who have informed the Black people that they know about our platform. And so that's always exciting to connect with people who don't look like you, who get it, who understand the value in history and cultural preservation. I'm a huge proponent of that, no matter what the group of people is, because I really feel like as time goes on and we become a more technologically advanced society, cultural preservation, cultural celebration, and just understanding the history of who we are as individuals and who we are as groups of people is really important, and just preserving that. No matter the group, no matter the culture, I really am a huge proponent of people working together to preserve their history and their culture. And slowly but surely over time, the Black Travelers Network platform has added a number of different trips to our roster over the years. And I'm wildly excited about that. And I'm going to share our 2024 trips with all of you. So, just in case you have not seen our previous videos, I always encourage and ask you to plug in to any of the trips that you are most interested in being a part of. Right now, we're in the very early stages of list building. And when I say list building, I mean we are working right now to identify the people who are very serious about traveling to any one of these destinations. And so the first destination on the list that we are going to is Brazil. We will be in Brazil next month in February for Rio Carnival. So that is coming up. And Spain is up right after that. And South Africa, Kenya, Vietnam, all of those are what's on the list up next. And so what we need from those of you who are watching this on the playback is we need you to email us blacktravelersnetwork@gmail.com. That's Black Travelers is spelled TRAVELERS network@gmail.com, and let us know which of these trips stand out to you. We want to build the list first because our trips happen based off of those people who are not just interested, because you talk to most people are going to be interested, but it really comes down to who has the financial wherewithal and the ability to take the time off that you need to take in order to be a part of the group. If there's not enough interest, we're not going to move forward with it. It doesn't make sense to do that. But we want to know from those of you who are listening, from our travel community, those who are not a part of the travel community, if any of these destinations jumps out at you, let us know. And this, I must say, this travel platform has not been an easy platform to run and maintain, because we've gone through so many ups and downs in the world, in particular the world of travel, with us sort of facing the biggest global pandemic of our lifetime. The 2020 pandemic that shut down the world, the effect really was for a couple of years. It's something that in hindsight I look back on and I'm just blown away. It's like blows my mind that it lasted that long, number one, and that as a travel platform, we were actually able to overcome it, overcome it and survive. And not even overcome it and survive, but we have amazing travelers who are a part of the Black Travelers Network community, who travel with us and who've traveled with us even during the global pandemic. And so we are so thankful that we survived that. And shout out to the Black Travelers Network community, because we still had those trips popping during that global pandemic. People were ready to get out the house, and people had their resources and they were ready to go, and we were here for them. And one important moment that I still reflect on from during the global pandemic is that one of our amazing contacts that we worked with directly for years in the country of Brazil. Her name was Angelica. Angelica was extremely, she was such a special person, ladies and gentlemen. And I say such a special person because every time we went to Brazil, Angelica would invite us in her home, and she would cook for us. Like, this was like a home cooked meal, Brazilian style. She also designed jewelry. She made lots of jewelry and sold the jewelry in her home. But I absolutely just love Angelica, and I miss her dearly. This was one of the last times, not one of the last times, this was the last time we actually saw Angelica. Was wildly famous in Brazil for in for really not just being a cook, but preserving culture in the context of food. She has a book. She wrote an amazing message to me in my book that I bought when we visited her the last time, and it was just a message that I carry forward with me. But she's wildly famous. She cooked and fed Angela Davis. She'd also cooked for and fed Anthony Bourdain when he was alive. She made it a point to talk to him and kind of teach him about the history and the culture of Brazil and the foods. And he spent some time with Angelica while he was in Brazil. And I can't remember if, I believe she may have been a part of the Parts Unknown episode. And so it's just one of those deeply, I'm trying to find the right word, deeply emotional experiences that I've had, because seeing her, the last time I saw her was in 2021. That was the last time I was in that part of Brazil. But she always provided such an amazing home cooked meal that I just can't even describe how wonderful the food was. The way she orchestrated the dishes and what she put in it. I remember our last conversation. She talked about how she doesn't use like measuring or recipes. It comes straight from her intuition, the flavors and the recipes. It's in her. She said, as Black women, certain things are just in us, and for her, what's in her is the food, like how to pull the dishes together and make it absolutely amazing. And so I just had to take a moment during this broadcast to, just reflect on how important Angelica has been to the Black Travelers Network community and how much I absolutely miss her. And going back to Brazil, this particular part, Bahia, is not the same. It's just going to feel so different when we return, and we are looking to return in 2023. So be mindful of that. May God rest her soul. Angelica, she showed us an amazing time. Uh, our travelers bought jewelry while they were there. I bought a book from her. She was just a truly beautiful soul, beautiful spirit. She couldn't communicate in English, but her Portuguese, she did her very best to help us to understand. And I'm just super thankful and grateful for all the years that she worked with our travelers and really showing them the best the country has to offer. But 2023 was very, very interesting. It was a very interesting year for me personally, I must say. And if you feel compelled, drop some comments. Let us know how your 2023 was. Was it amazing? Was it challenging? Uh, Let us know. I love doing these moments where I'm able to peek inside the lives of other people. Challenging for me in so many ways, but great in so many other ways. I was actually online earlier today and some important questions popped in my feed, and I wanted to anchor this broadcast with these questions. And I encourage those of you who are listening live or listening on the playback to take a moment and self-reflect and answer any one of these questions. You can do it in the comments, or you can do it as a personal exercise where you write them down for yourself and answer them. I'm one of those people. I'm a big believer in writing things down. It's an important aspect of self-reflection, and also a very important technique for manifesting the things that you want. I've personally experienced manifesting things throughout my entire life, all based off of the things that I had written down. And it's so wild because the last thing I actually manifested, I wrote it down, completely forgot about it, was doing some cleaning, found my little journal, and had seen like 2 to 3 years prior the entry that I had written on the first page of the journal had completely come to pass, and I got goosebumps just reading it. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote this down, and it happened. So some people like to do it with vision boards. I'm more of a writer type of person. So yeah, I just encourage you, if you have time while we're early in the year, to do some self-reflection and do some manifestation work. So again, feel free to participate in this exercise and carry these questions forward in your life. The questions that came up today that really got me thinking: what are you proud to have accomplished last year in 2023? What is one of your proudest moments? And I've had so many proud moments throughout my life, and I've just been super blessed and super grateful. But I'll keep this in the context of Black Travelers Network as much as I can. I think for me, it's not so much as what was accomplished in 2023. I think it's what I realized we had accomplished in 2023. As I stated earlier, our first trip was to travel to Brazil. That was the first trip we as a community, a travel community, ever took online. Took from online to offline. It was our first group travel experience was to Brazil. And I realized in like doing moments of self-reflection at the time that we'd gone to Brazil, Brazil was not the place to go. It was not the place to visit. It was not the place to be. And so where we are right now, with so many travelers visiting Brazil and wanting to visit Brazil and putting Brazil on their bucket list, I feel that Black Travelers Network and our partners in Brazil and our network in Brazil has been very instrumental in shifting that narrative and that dynamic from what Brazil has historically been, which is not really the best image. To not only have we changed the narrative about the country, but we've consistently gone and visited and taken travelers. And now, well, I'll get to where we're going in Brazil in a bit, but you have to understand, when we started traveling to Brazil, there were Americans who were traveling. You know, Americans have traveled all over the world, but it was not the, within the context of the Black community, it was not the level of excitement that I'm seeing for Brazil right now. I'll take it back to the historical timeline. March 2015, in the country of Brazil, the big thing was the Zika virus outbreak. You know, they showed all of these images on and throughout the news, world news here in the United States, local news, about the ravaging Zika virus and how it was taking its toll. And it, in particular, it affected pregnant women really at a level that had not been experienced or expected. So we would see images on the news of these babies born with these full grown bodies and these tiny little heads. And when I say full grown, I mean like baby bodies, but the head was like so small. I don't know if those of you remember those images that in that time when they were talking about Zika virus. So that turned off American travelers to Brazil. Brazil actually hosted the Olympics in 2016. And I don't know if you guys remember, but that scandal that came out for the during the Olympics was with, oh, I can't remember that swimmer's name, but it was basically a swimmer who lied and said that he had been robbed or something had happened to him that involved violence and guns and all that stuff. But anyway, that came as a result of the Olympics that was held right there in Rio. And that was a big story about the country. It just reflected negatively in the press. And then there's always been this discussion about drugs and violence in the country, the gangs. You know, it's just been a bad look for Brazil for a while. But we first started traveling to Brazil around 2016, 2017. So we were really, in a lot of ways, the group of people that kind of embraced the negative narrative and said, let's jump out there and let's see. And so we went to Brazil, had an amazing time, shared pictures online. We did so many things on that first trip to Brazil. So you go from the Zika virus turning people off to the violence that happened at the Olympics in 2016 to the whole like violence and images coming out of Brazil when it came to like gangs. Through networking and partnerships in the country, we have been able to counter those images and really influence Black travelers all over the world to travel to the country of Brazil. Like, it's one of the top destinations that more Black people have been going to and visiting. And, you know, sometimes the work we do is not seen immediately, but the fruits of the labor that we've done are definitely begin to show. And that's the one thing I realized as a proud accomplishment that I had from 2023 is just the realization that those seeds we've been planting throughout the years about this particular country and how amazing it is are really starting to bear fruit. And there was a recent story in the news the other day of a man who was on this cruise, a Black man who was not allowed to board his cruise ship after he had gotten off and taken a side trip to Brazil. I was like, there we go. And they showed a picture of him, and he was just smiling away because he got a chance to take his side trip to Brazil. You know, Brazil has always been notorious for not just the drugs, the violence, and all of that, but the you know, because of how YouTube is sensitive about the language, a particular kind of tourism um, that is, you know, a little bit on the seedy side of things. You know, I'm sure everybody who's listening knows about the other negative images that are associated with the country. So just seeing that narrative change. Another amazing thing that I did in 2023 that was a proud accomplishment of mine is something I actually don't even talk about. But I had a wonderful opportunity of working on a budget for a documentary film project. And meeting with an amazing group of brothers and sisters to pull this film project together. I can't talk about it because, you know, we're still in that phase where we're trying to, you know, find executive producers who will fund it. But it was just amazing and wonderful and exciting to be on the team and to have the ability to do the research and the work to pull together a viable budget for a film. And we discussed pre-production, production, and post-production, and what all of those elements look like. It's not my film project, and there are so many things I just like to be a part of because I see the goal and the vision of other people, and if I feel like I can add to the picture and play a major role in it, I will do that. And so that's one of those items that's still on the list because we still have quite a ways to go. And I think the biggest thing with this film project is the funding piece of it. But, you know, to be able to wrap my head around the actual numbers of it and what it takes to produce it, it was just such a wonderful, amazing learning experience. And I always like being around people who know way more than I do. So that was an accomplishment in and of itself. This was just so much fun. And I think those are my two big wins from 2023. Also, exploring new territory in my beloved country of Brazil. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell everybody about this trip. We're still compiling the images from the visit to the amazing Recife and the unforgettable island that's off the coast that hardly anybody from America ever visits because quite frankly so many of us don't even know it exists, and you have to take special measures and protocols to even get to the island that's just so luxurious and beautiful. So I can't wait. That's on our list for this year. It's actually a destination that makes the most sense to visit in November. So we will be going back to Brazil in November. And that trip will include a visit to a very exotic destination. I'm talking about people swimming with sharks. It was just phenomenal. I can go on and on and on about that trip. I actually, as much as I travel around the world, I am not an adventure seeker or an adventure traveler, but to be able to go in a canoe in the ocean, and mind you, I don't swim either, and be in the midst of a pod of dolphins. Oh my goodness. This is just like I said, that is the place that I want to take as many people as I possibly can take to this particular island. Although they have limits on the island in terms of how many people can actually be a part of visiting the island at one time. So I'm going to do a special broadcast when we drop that trip. about that exciting destination. But the second question I want to get to, well, what goals were not achieved in 2023? And this is one of those that I love answering because it's a way of me checking myself, like checking myself, checking our community. What did we put on the list that we did not get accomplished? And so many people struggle and have problems being honest about, like, yeah, I went out for that, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Some people try to cover up their losses. We like to highlight our wins and cover up our losses, but I talk about my losses. I have no problem with that. And the main goal, I would say, that was not achieved in 2023 is I had a goal for Black Travelers Network to raise $25,000 and gift it to various organizations that exist within the Black community. That was a goal. And as the leader of Black Travelers Network, I have a list of how I would like to get this accomplished. And I've been very intentional and very diligent about strategically planning on how we're going to raise the $25,000 to give back to the Black community, and to be able to share with those donors and contributors specifically where the money went, the organizations it went to. That was my goal. And the challenge is the work that I did. I feel like I need to work on it more. Like there was so much that happened in 2023 that unfortunately I kind of deviated from it. I did a lot of work on it the previous year, and the work to kind of like tie it all in 2023, I personally dropped the ball on that. And that's the thing that I wanted to accomplish that I was not able to accomplish through Black Travelers Network this year. So that is my major failure, the goal that was not achieved. And so it's still a goal. It's still a goal. And so we move forward. The third question, and we have 4 questions. The third question that popped up in my feed was, what's a rich life investment I happily made in 2023? And for me, the rich life purpose, the rich life investment, I should say, that I made in 2023, it was my education, hands down. From what I've been able to gather from studying people who are successful, both financially and socially successful, it usually involves education, them going through some level of education. And I invest so much in myself when it comes to self-education, and I'm always taking some type of class, or I'm always in between reading books. The book that I'm actually reading now is a book by I hope I'm not getting his name wrong, but I want to say LaRon Bennett. The book is Forced into Glory. It's the story of Abraham Lincoln. That is a book that I am actually reading right now. And LaRon Bennett is actually a really great author. I think the thing that made me want to read this book, and it's a massive book, let me just say that. It's massive. But he also did another book that I read that was about the life of John Johnson, the guy who created Ebony. I think I'm saying his name correctly. I read that book a long time ago, but I really love that particular book about about how Ebony magazine was sort of brought from nothing to something, and just its overall evolution. And so self-education is one thing I always invest in: self-study. I also do other things outside of travel, and one thing I'm actively working on is actually creating a business that is in the financial service sector. So when I'm in the United States, this requires quite a bit of work and education, formal education on my part. So formal classes I have to take in order to be in position to create a business in this sector. It's a big investment. It's definitely a big investment, but it's definitely a requirement as I branch into that area of business. So not only do I put time and money behind what I do, but I also put action behind it as well, which is typically why my time is often very limited, and I'm so protective over my time. I don't have a lot of it, and so I'm very stingy with it. So unfortunately, I don't spend a lot of time on the phone. I don't get a chance to spend a lot of time at lounges and partying. I mean, I love doing those things, but I don't have time because I am very much mission and purpose focused. So that was my investment, my Rich Life investment. And the final question is, what would you like to happen in 2024? What would I like to happen in 2024? Well, when it comes to Black Travelers Network, I want to do more live videos. That is the purpose of this live. You know, I've had the ability to go live for a very long time. For Christmas, my mother bought me a microphone, so I hope the sound is coming through really well, because she knows and has seen how dedicated I am to developing this particular platform on YouTube, which, like as I said in the beginning, was not even a thing for me. But I want to do more live videos. I want to travel to new destinations. I want our community, Black Travelers Network, to grow in terms of the amount of people we're able to help and bring together. These are goals that I'd like to see happen in 2024. And I also want to make some adjustments to the plan that I have for the giving back to local communities, for how we are giving back. Because when I look at my plan and how we're going to achieve that particular goal, I do need to make some adjustments and some tweaks to that particular part of the strategic plan for Black Travelers Network. And so I am just so excited, so excited at what 2024 has to offer and can bring to all of us. And so I encourage you to, hey, continue to celebrate the new year by creating your own list of goals, things you'd like to accomplish, places you'd like to visit. My goodness, please have a travel list that you plan to not just talk about, but be about, like make it really happen. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have for today. Thank you once again, everyone, for getting us to this very unexpected milestone on this particular platform, something we did not expect, we did not plan for, we did not anticipate, we did not work towards. But it still feels really good to get to the subscriber number that we're at. Please let people know about Black Travelers Network and our travel, our travel experiences that we offer. And feel free to let us know if you would like to join. Happy New Year, everyone, and let's get this 2024 party started. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen.